Okay, I'm going to show you how to solder the two plates together for the soldering suitcase project. So I'm coating both of my plates with boric acid to prevent from fire scale, and I am placing them on a charcoal block to prevent heat sink from happening. And I've got one edge of the plate that's going to be vertical filed so that it'll fit flush against the horizontal plate. And it takes a little bit of patience to get these two plates positioned together so that they're centered and 90 degrees. I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to just touch up the boric acid because I moved it a little bit and scraped some of it off. I think it looks good on that side. Now I'm going to apply the flux, and I'm going to make sure that I have just a nice thin layer on each side where the two plates come together. And having the right amount of flux on this project is really critical. If you have too much or too little, you'll run into problems. So you have to be really precise about that. The next thing that I've done is I've already cut 4 pieces of solder, and I like to use smaller pieces of solder, so they're about 1 millimeter by 1 millimeter squares, and I'm going to place them spaced out evenly along one side, and then I'm going to heat from the other side to pull the solder through. But before I even place my solder, I'm going to have to preheat the plates and make sure that I've got it preheated. And the other thing that's really important is when the flux gets glassy, I lightly run my pick along each side to make sure that the flux is smooth and that it's covering everywhere. And I do that before I place my solder. So now I'm gonna get this preheated, and I like to stand up when I'm doing this one because then I can move around and I can heat from both sides to start out with to get it preheated. So I'm kind of keeping my torch at a 45-degree angle. Since these plates are the same size, I want them to get heated evenly. Just trying to get this heated up so that the flux and the boric acid get nice and glassy. And you're going to see these plates get pink because it takes some getting, the brass needs to get a little bit pink usually before the solder flows. So now I just smoothed out my flux, and I'm going to place my solder right in the corner on one side. And now I'm going to heat from the opposite side until I can see the solder come through. And I try to get myself positioned so that I can see both sides, so I can see what's happening. Every once in a while you'll have to give a little piece of solder a little nudge. If the flux, sometimes when it bubbles, it can push the solder. And this should be getting to where it's just about to flow. I can see the pieces of solder starting to get shiny. And there one flowed, the middle one flowed, and now the other edge. There we go. And then just by running all the way across, I could get that nice uniform seam all the way across. And I'm going to turn this so that you can see what it looks like on this side. But hopefully, if the camera zooms in, you can see that there's a continuous line of solder. We've had a little bit of fire scale right here. Actually, that usually happens. The other side hardly has any fire scale, so that's not so bad for brass. It's so easy to get fire scale with brass. So that's it.